Hey chat, how we doing today? Thank Christ, I am finally back. Like, the absolute egregiousness of how sick I can get sometimes just astounds me. There was like, what, 9 days I've been out for? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, good lord. Anyway, this thing, helmet. I want to try and get close to completing this today. Hey, Likely, how you doing? Hopefully, I would say hope nothing too weird has gone on while I was gone, but, looking at the general news, a few things went down. I take roughly a week break because my body is trying to actively kill itself, and I come back to whatever the fuck happened there. Like, huh? Anyways. So, this thing. I do have quite a fair bit to edit. I also need to texture this thing. Now, I do have at least a partial idea of what I can do. So, I do have the decal for the helmet. Like, this section of the helmet here, this specific decal. I do have this. I just need to, you know, actually color it in. You'll understand once I've actually get to it. But for now, I think I need to make a couple of adjustments to this model before I can continue on with that. Chaos ensue? For real, like, what the hell? 2 people died, like, basically within a day of each other? Like, 2 very well-known people at that? Like, how the hell did this happen? How did we get here? So I definitely need to straighten this edge out here. And a major corporate. Oh yeah, the fucking CEO. That was hilarious, actually. Like, how do you think you could get away with some shit like that? It's beyond me. Like, this is the same energy as, like, you not going to school for an entire day and then discovering Rihanna just decided to drop in unannounced. Like, damn, bro, the fuck? Alright, so... Oh yeah, forgot about that CEO too. What do you mean the major corpo? Because, like, the CEO is the one that I think about when I hear the major corpo thing. Did something else happen that I was not aware of? I was on Reddit for, like, 7 straight days. How the fuck would I be able to miss something is beyond me. Anyway, shading. Oh, the shoujo. Yeah, that was some bullshit. I completely forgot about that, and quite frankly, I shouldn't have. Because what the actual hell were they thinking? Like, who steals from a charity? The audacity. Okay, so this here... I'm gonna need to be really specific about the fabric color, I think. So this is... I can probably unlink this. So there should be a thing here. Oh, actually, hang on. Object and data. So now I should be able to remove these and not pick the other one. Put this black helmet, and I'm going to make a copy. And black helmet. Okay, I saw V Shoujo. What happened with Pepsi? Like, genuine, I didn't know anything about Pepsi. I did know about V Shoujo, though. Let's get out some texture here. So... Oh, V Shoujo, yeah, like, they're hella dead. Like, no, Iron Mouse was well within her right to call them out like that, because, like, who the fuck steals from charity? I see Twitch nuked one of their emotes because the guy who runs Visojo actually had an emote on here, and they just completely nuked it, which, I mean, fair enough. Let's have a look, see at the padding fabric. Cycle helmet. Alright, let's see what we've got here. So, like that. We need like a really good close-up of this stuff. Actually, this is an excellent image here. Why is there... Okay, you know what? I'm not even going to ask. So, the padding seems to be breathable woven, and that looks like faux leather on this one. Is that the same for all of them? Okay, some of them seem to be faux leather, some of them seem to be smaller padding options. I think I'm going to stick with the breathable, I think, because that's going to be the easiest way of texture. Yes, this one's nice. Oh, almost forgot to put chat as a priority. Always on top, there we go. That way I can actually see chat while I'm working. So for this one, I think I used... This is the same texture as I used for that one middle bit in the Sly Cooper map, which means a drowning man can always drag someone down with them, think they were too desperate for survival and just needed to use that money to make ends meet until other income arrives. Be that as it may, that's a pretty poor excuse. Like, if they were having problems, they could have just come clean about it and asked, like, hey, is there anyone who's willing to bankroll, like, this or that or whatever else? And a lot of VTubers are so beloved that people would actually bankroll stuff like that. But to not only lie about paying creators and being very late on payments, but also stealing from charity, like, that shit was doomed from the get-go. I think I used magic texture for this one. I think. Yeah, I used magic for this. And then I think I ramped this. There's certainly going to need to be some mapping done on this. Okay, so that's a good start. Also, that is definitely a trypophobia hazard. That needs to be really scaled down. And the actual internal holes are quite bright. Okay, so now I need to Control-T that. I need to find a good mapping point. Maybe UVs would be my best bet here. So that means I'm going to have to unwrap this one. That's easy enough though. I need to probably solidify this first. The problem is if I need to add extra solidified to make the subdivision more reasonable, I think. So if I set this to... Okay, so that's like 0.1 here. I don't think the padding is that thin. I think it's 0.2 here. Or even 0.15. Yeah, that seems a bit more reasonable. So, apply that. And then I actually need to hide the mirror modifier, because the problem with applying a solidifier for a subdiv is that it always does this garbage. Where it just adds extra interior faces, which you do not need. Now if I add that back in, that should be all good. Now, how would one go about splitting this? Okay, I'll remove that for now. That inherently is a split. So that's a split. Around the bottom here was also going to be a split. So that should auto-split just fine. So, you and Mark Seams. I took the radiator fan motor off my bike. I'm going to slap a 3D printed fan on it. It'll be interesting to see how that works out. Okay, that probably... Actually, is that a good position for it? I feel like it needs to be further down. Actually, no, that would be correct. So if I unwrap that, I also need to get a unwrap around here. So grab these ones. Yeah, I've definitely made a dog's breakfast of this, but that's half the course, really. So that should give me a clean unwrap there. The only problem is I don't really want this here to be squared off, but that's probably the best way to go about it. It's 12 volt and reaches 5,000 RPM with only 3 amps. It could go higher, but I lost grip of it when it was on my lap. I mean, like, that's pretty impressive for a 3D printed fan, not gonna lie. And then this one here definitely needs to be seamed. Now, the correct position for the external seams are actually around the outside edge. You wouldn't think so. It's a bit counterintuitive here, but it does work. So, actually, if I go here, right? And go through here, though. I can actually force that to go there. Now, is this correct? Yeah, it is, because that's going to be a large island otherwise if I don't do it like this. Also, thank you, Motorcycles, for your unnecessary contribution. Not you, likely. I've historically had issues, right? Like, there's a bunch of gangs who live in the area, and they love just revving the shit out of their motorcycles, and while it might not necessarily pick up on mic, it is very loud. Like, excruciatingly loud. Okay, so that should be fine. Yeah, I know, it is really unfortunate, but they have no respect for noise levels. And quite frankly, I think a lot of them are deaf, but that's beside the point. Okay, I'm going to try unwrapping this. Okay, that's a lot cleaner, although the unwrap here is not great. Actually, this unwrap here is bad as well. Alright, let's see. Oh, interesting. Turning the mirror on and off does actually mess with that a little bit. Now, this one here actually does need to be So I am going to use this one here. So this, I should be able to just mark seam on that, and then on the outside edge here, I can mark seam on that. Let's unwrap this a second time. Now that's okay, but this top needs to be fixed. So the quickest way to do that is literally just to mark seams on that one there. Ah, that is still extremely stretched, huh? I wonder what's causing... Oh, it's, okay. I didn't intend to do that, that's for sure. I was supposed to unwrap. There we go. Okay. I was like, strange, that should have worked. Now, I do need to scale this up a bit more. Like, quite a fair bit. That's looking relatively similar. Now, this is going to be an interesting case because the shininess of the materials on the grey, and then the white is actually not so shiny, which seems a bit bizarre. I'm sure I can work with it though. All I'd have to do is just plug it into the roughness value and ram it. So if I turn the subdiv back on, yeah, it doesn't look too bad. The only problem is that some of these seams are going to be a bit off-putting, especially this one here. Is there a way that I can fix this? If I remove this seam, is it going to break everything? Can I clear the seam and have it look somewhat decent? Okay, yeah, that does work. I messed up the remesh of a fan before exporting it as an STL. I'm now the unproud owner of a 964,000 kilobyte file of a PC fan. Hang on, I need to translate this because this... I have the feeling this is actually going to be really fucking funny. How do you have an almost 1 gigabyte file of a No, you don't need to check that. Yeah, sorry, my brain is still somewhat non-functional at the moment because I have been sick, but how did you have an almost 1 gigabyte file from a remesh? Did you not check your remesh values before you did? Like, is that what happened here? So I'm definitely gonna clear out this seam here because it is breaking a lot of stuff. Seam. Okay, so that one there is probably breaking stuff as well. I did 0.01 instead of 1. Ah, yeah, easy enough mistake. I don't... Well, assuming that you're using Blender for it, that's why the decimate modifier exists. Okay, I'm going to... Actually, I'm going to clear this seam here. Because the seam probably needs to be on the bottom. The what? The decimate modifier. There is a modifier in Blender. It's under generate and it's called decimate. And I probably won't be able to show it with this one. Actually, you know what? I can probably just do it with a generic object on here. So if I add, say, a UV sphere, right? And I say Control 4, so this thing has a lot of vertices in it. So if I go into statistics, this thing has 253,000 edges, 253,000 triangles. what I can do is I can go into the decimate modifier, and you've got a couple of options here. So like in my case, I can actually just unsubdivide this, and it will work as intended. Like, see, it just unsubdivides it, and then after, say, like 5 iterations, I've now got a sphere that's only 7,000. But something that's generally more useful for complex objects is something called collapse. And this ratio here, it also tells you the phase count down here. So the further you pull down this ratio, and it will be laggy, just a fair warning. So I'm going to set this to 0.1 for now. Set this to 0.1, and suddenly it's 24,000 faces. And the only tricky thing with this is that the subdivision, like, it's not always clean. So, as you can see, there's a lot of triangulation happening here. Not good for something if you want to, say, like, make a character and you want to have, like, clean topology. But if you're doing something that should have fairly even faces, Blender automatically calculates this. So I can set it down to, like, say, 0.01. And even if I go into here, like, you can sort of see that's weird, but if you, say, click the shade smooth option, right? You're not even going to notice. Like, the only time you notice, again, is if you're doing 3D printing, but most of the time you can get away with it if you just decimate and then maybe subdiv again. Like, there's a lot of options to be had here. But yeah, that's a decimate modifier. That's how that thing works. So yeah, if you've remeshed it, probably decimate's going to be your best friend here. Alright, out of teaching mode, what was I doing? Oh, right, this thing. This absolute menace to society. So, in order to get this to work properly, I think I'm going to have to apply mirror. Not my first option of sorting this out, but probably my best one. So I'm going to click seam here. And I'm not a big fan of it because it does do this weird stuff sometimes. In fact, I'm just going to undo that. Why is that? Why is that split? It shouldn't be split. Yeah, it's not. My brain, for whatever reason, is reading it as split, though it shouldn't be. Alright, let's try that again. Also, you can't apply modifiers in edit mode. I always try to, and then inevitably fail. Wait. Fuck? That is split in this mode. I'm sorry? How did this happen? Is it not centered? Oh, it might not be centered, actually. Okay, that should work better now. What a weird-ass thing to have happen. Okay. So, clear seam on that one. Okay, so we've got the internals here just fine, although this here, I'm calling it to be this one that's being weird. And I also need to do it on the other side now that I've done that. Okay, so that should be fine. The warping's a little bit strange, but at this point it's not going to be that noticeable. So the one thing here, I'm probably gonna try this. Actually, can I do this without applying the mirror modifier? Can I fix this without doing that? I can probably just obliterate this and it shouldn't do too much here. Unwrap. Okay, yeah, so it sort of fixes, but at the same time it just does its own thing. So, seam. Okay, that was a load-bearing one. Good to know. Oh, okay, so this here actually needs to be unwrapped. I need to mark a seam there. New and unwrap. So yeah, that clears up the seams there, which was being strange. Now, if I clear the seams on this and unwrap that, that just goes janky, so that's not the way to fix this one. I think actually this one might not need to be fixed necessarily. So, like, actually looking from the inside of the helmet, it's not too bad. The only thing that's really obvious in terms of seams is this middle bit here and then this outer edge, which does definitely need to be worked on. But, as I said, this one here should just be fixable with adding an additional seam here. So, mark a seam there, and unwrap that, and this internal bit should be functional for the most part now. Okay, not quite. I'm gonna try making this a seam as well. So yeah, that should be more consistent now. Okay, cool. So the only one I need to figure out now is the middle seam. And then I can go on to actually making the fabric look a bit better. In fact, I'm gonna... Do I need to drop the scale of this at all? Because the holes are relatively large. I think I'm gonna drop it to 150. I don't know why, but my keyboard is hell-bent on not having the number lock on occasionally, and it's just so strange. Like, why do you need to break it? Also, why is that pulled down in a weird position? Literally no need for you to do that. I'm just gonna slide that up. Huh? How did this happen? It's like not even hitting the outer edges. Like, that's strange. Okay, it's because I had the subdiv off. That probably doesn't help. Okay, so that should be relatively good now. Just need to work on this middle seam issue. So, wait. Also need to fix this. Because it is kind of noticeable if you're actually staring up into the helmet. So, clear seam. I tried this before. Unfortunately, yeah, actually, that doesn't work out too badly now. I do need to probably clear this entire lot. Clear seam and unwrap. Okay, there we go. So yeah, clearing the seams that surround those is probably going to be my best bet. And clear seams from all that. Yeah, and then this part here I don't think is too noticeable. Like, especially if you got the whole helmet thing going on, like, yeah, you probably wouldn't notice that much. Not unless you're looking, like, directly from the back of the helmet. Now, this section here, I do need to apply that, I think. Does this need to be kind of... I wonder what's happening here to cause this. I might need to... like that for a moment. And same on this side. You, mark seam. Okay, now it's just being an annoying pest. Why are you breaking all of a sudden? You're saying that I basically have to just have this also marked out. Like, if so, that's kind of frustrating. You unwrap. Okay, not quite. Unless, I'm not supposed to have that outer lot done. Maybe I need to just have these ones be marked. Oh, that definitely broke things, didn't it? Okay, never mind. Unwrap this entire middle section then? Perhaps. You mark the same. And same with this end. Well, that certainly didn't work. Odd. What if I tried marking from this end? You mark same. Okay, that works a little bit better. Let's see if I figure out what the hell's going on with that. Actually, yeah, just do that and yeah. Okay, cool. I just needed to mark those outer edges, it seems. Now, I do need to set this up again. Frustratingly enough. So, maybe 230? Yeah, 230 seems about right. And I'm also going to need to set up a normals for this. Or some normals at least. Okay, so we got that done at least. Now, roughness values. Alright, let's try... Can we ramp this directly to the roughness value, or is that going to be too much? I'll try mapping it to normals first. So... bump mode. So now I want this to be blacks and whites. And then I can just edit it from there on out. So, plug the alpha into Normal information. Actually, this needs to be in height. What am I doing? Interesting. Why is that? Unless I'm using the wrong one. Entirely possible when it comes to me. The displace. It certainly does something, but I don't think it's the thing I'm looking for. Yeah, I don't think that's the correct one. Okay, it's strange. Also, why is... Oh, I thought that was my scroll lock. It was my caps lock, actually, that was on. I think I probably plugged in the wrong one. I think I was supposed to plug in color here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I think I was supposed to plug in color instead. So, that is the correct direction. Strength could probably do for lessening, unless it's distance here that I want to... 0.01. Go, got that going. Probably want to drag these values around just a smidge. Okay, so we got the fabric material almost working. Oh, also, while I was out of commission, I inadvertently got into Balatro. I sort of see why the game's popular, but at the same time, like, damn bro, it's just a gambling simulator, yeah? I was a little bit concerned because I was playing it last night before I was going to head to bed, and then my aunt walked into the room, and I was just thinking, shit, this woman cannot discover that Balatro exists, because this is the same person who goes to Vegas every 2 years. Like, there is no way in hell I'm letting her know that a game like Balatro exists. I would never hear the end of it. I was just like, yeah, that could be a bit disastrous. Now... the roughness map. Okay, here we go. So, I do need a separate one just for this. So, I plug that in here. Now, I can only watch like 5 minutes of Balatro gameplay. To be fair, it is, like... I think it's the same with any roguelike games, right? It's a very difficult type of game to get into. Like, if we're talking about acquired tastes, like, that game certainly is. So yeah, that is somewhat shiny-ish. And then, like, this one is less shiny even than that. Yeah, like... I don't know, Balatro, like... This is coming from the person who absolutely adores roguelikes, especially roguelites in general. Like, it's not a game for everyone, that's for sure. Okay, so if I... get that out now. Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah, I can work with that. Now, for the helmet itself, I do have like a lot of references here. Now, the question is, do I want to do black detailing on this, or do I want to leave it like the generic yellow? I think leaving it as generic yellow is not going to do me any favors. Like, if we're going off of the actual... Like, I assume anime adaptation, right? So, stuff like this. Yeah, it does seem like it's blackened in detail, so I guess that's what I shall work with. Like, there's this one specific YouTuber, right, that shows up on shorts every so often whenever I'm watching them. And he has some of the most fuck-ass Balatro gameplay I ever see. Like, that man, like, if he wasn't playing Balatro, I'd be convinced that he was, like, some NASA scientist or something in his spare time. Because how the hell does he even figure some of the stuff out? Like, I think one of the blinds he was playing, he was playing with Joker's face down and randomized. I'm just like, how do you even calculate the position of those things? Like, I can't even keep a track of my own brain cells, for God's sakes. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of the subdiv for just a moment here. And then this one I'm going to assign that to there. Okay, that actually worked out better than expected, although this is a little bit of a problem, isn't it? How do I fix this? I think the fix is this specific set of faces here. I also need to grab it on the other side. Actually, no, I don't. Not on this one, at least. So, sign that. Ah, okay. So, it's going to be a cheeky fuck this time around, is what it's going to be. Oh, it's like really embedded in there. Okay, that's kind of ugly, but I can work with that. So, this is the one that I need to assign. Okay, yeah, that works a bit better. Same for me with Satisfactory, they overcomplicate bigger builds. Okay, to be honest, Factorio, Satisfactory, those types of games scare the ever-loving shit out of me. Because, like, you cannot get into a game like that and convince me that you're mentally healthy. That's coming from the person whose mental health is questionable at best. Okay, so I need to not do that. So that does seem okay. Although the little piggy snout probably could do with a little bit of rounding off here with the edges. Like, the closest I've ever gotten to something that could be seen in something like Satisfactory and that sort of thing is my No Man's Sky save file. I will admit I did go a little bit too complicated on some of my builds, but I mean, like, who didn't in that game? I put 300 hours into Satisfactory in my first month of playing. Really? I mean, fair enough, I suppose. I'm just looking at these images here. There's like... Okay, this is probably my best image here. So... It's still rounded for the most part, but this definitely looks more squared off than normal. So it's like certainly not round, that's for sure. Problem is, if I crease it too much, it does seem to do some weird stuff. So I'm going to give it probably that amount of crease would probably be the best here. But yeah, like... I mean, like, I say that satisfactory scares me is, like, acting as though I don't have 1,000+ hours in the Binding of Isaac, so, like, throwing stones in a glass house, I guess. Okay, so I think, for the most part, the helmet is fine. I do need to do something about this, though. So, like, for the most part, that's fine. I think I maybe... What do we think, chat? Do we want these helmet bits here, like these vents here, do we want them to be in a blackened color, or do we want them to be yellow? So that's the black coloring there. And we've also got the yellow coloring. I'm not going to put the blue coloring on this because I still need it for the decal. Personally, I think the black is cleaner, but at the same time, there's so much quality of life things in the game. I mean, to be fair, for something where your main goal is to essentially build a bigger factory as possible to get as many resources as possible, I'd imagine there would be a lot of quality of life stuff here. I'm thinking... do I want to stick with the black? We'll see. I'll keep it in the black color for now, because there is something else I want to do with these. So I'm going to make a duplicate of these. And I'm going to alt. Actually, I need to... Okay, I need to set the object origin to be origin to geometry. And I want the mirror to be based around the helmet. So I need to make this as flat as possible. Actually, you know what the easiest way to do this is? This is going to seem like a really weird decision, but I'm going somewhere with this. So if I align rotation to target, so face, and that should have, yeah, it should have rotated, but it didn't. Why is that? No matter, I can just do this. For whatever reason, it doesn't really want to play ball. So if I do this... I swear I'm going somewhere with this chat. I basically just want this to be flat. Oh. Cooking in progress. I wouldn't necessarily call this cooking. And, like, speaking of, like, why is it you say that and automatically the goddamn French cooking music show... I'm sorry, I don't know why my playlist has a sense of humor, but it certainly does. I don't know how I should feel about that. Regardless. Okay, so I got those completely flattened out now. And I want to probably rotate these to... Yeah, that seems about right. Okay, so I can get rid of that. And I'm gonna Alt-G that. Irregardless, yeah. Irregardless of any actual English being done here. I need to drag that down. Why is that? That's strange. Okay, there we go. What is going on with this weird thing? Oh, actually, I think this is supposed to be at the same height as the other one. Yeah, that makes more sense. Alright, so time to try something new. I don't know how well this is going to work. It probably isn't, but hey, what's the point of doing something if you're not going to learn anything, huh? Like, there's no point in shying away, you know? Now, scale that in the X. So this fun little thing is called a lattice modifier. And you can do some really funny stuff with it, but what I'm trying to do is I'm going to try and use this to put the vents on the helmet and not have it go all weird. So the deform needs to be on this lattice, and then there needs to be a shrink wrap modifier somewhere. I'm not entirely certain where. In fact, I think the shrink wrap goes on the lattice. Okay. Remove that now though. So I need to add... Okay, keep the subdivision on here, remove mirror. So, in edit mode, this... Actually, does this need to have a... Edit mesh cached form... Okay. So there's a way where you can edit the amount of... Actually, let me just quickly look this up. Let's see, lattices. Okay, here we go. So it is under the properties tab. There we go. Now I want there to be probably 4 of these, and then 3 for this one should be sufficient. So layer should be scaled and moved to fit around the object in object mode. Any scaling applied to the object in mode will result in the object falling out. This includes applying its scale with Control A, as this will achieve the same result. The object. Okay. How do I attach this to... Main use is to apply a deformation to the object and controls the lattice modifier. If the object is parented with a lattice deform, a lattice modifier was automatically applied. So this needs to be parented to this. And then the helmet itself needs a lattice modifier, I believe. Yep. And then this one I think needs to have a shrink wrap. Okay. That is not going the way that I expected it to. Because shrink wrapping works differently for objects than it does for decals. Like, the difference between an object and a decal in this case is quite large. Shrink wrap modifier. Do I need to apply the shrink wrap to this one? I wouldn't have thought so. So, wrap method, project. Okay, it's certainly on surface. Okay, so moving around does do some weird stuff. Base coal, negative, positive. Okay, so there are some options here, but not quite what I'm looking for. So if I put shrink wrap, okay, here we go. It does do somewhat what I ask it to, but that is not the way I want this to work. So above surface and project. Okay, so shrink wrap goes on the actual object itself. Alright, let's have a look through here. Create a lattice object to be conformed to the sphere. Then you can use the lattice modifier on your leaf and reference the lattice object you just created. Apply the shrink wrap modifier to the lattice object. Okay, so that is the way I'm doing it, but it's not conforming the way that I want it to. Unless this has to be above the subdiv, which is entirely possible. So this here. Oh, unless I'm supposed to have the lattice modifier on the lattice itself. So lattice onto... Okay, so the lattice has to be connected to the lattice object itself, so it can't self-reference. So then this needs to... Oh, okay, so I need to reference the lattice via the object itself. So this lattice here. So this one needs to be a lattice. That is lap shape, lapsation, that is not lattice. Lattice, here we go, and then it needs to reference this object here. This one here does not need it. So then I want to shrink wrap on this one using project and targeting the helmet. Except it's still not conforming the way that I'd want it to. Why is it not? I want to do face, and I want to align rotation to target. So it's doing that. Oh wait, is it? It's not conforming. So I want it above surface. It's not really like bending the way that I'd want it to. Now why would that be? Cyclonic versus basic reading comprehension. And create a lattice object and give it enough subdivisions for it to be conformed. So maybe I don't have enough subdivs on this? Perhaps. Let's up it to 6 and 4 here. Well, it does seem that the lattice itself is not bending. So maybe the subdiv is... the shrink wrap rather is not working. In fact, I don't even have a shrink wrap on this thing at all. Oh wait, no, it's literally right there, I'm blind. We all know this though. You use the lattice modifier in your leaf to reference the lattice object, which I've done. Finally, apply the shrink wrap modifier to the lattice object, and it works. So... is it because the method is broken, maybe? Is it because it's project? It might be because it's project. Yeah, it doesn't seem that the... actually, this does seem to work a little bit better now. I do need to edit this a little bit, though, to make it work properly. But now I want to set this to be closest and not... there we go, that's a little bit better. So I want it to be on surface, maybe? Okay, so if I hide these... okay, it's not quite working out still. Alright, so if I do this now, it does seem that the... it's almost like the outer edges don't want to walk correctly. Like this top section here. So if I set that up to be 3 instead, that does... actually, it seems to break more than anything else. Actually, I wonder if it's because it's trying to lock into... no, it's not doing that. I thought for a second there it was trying to lock into an internal solidify, but there's no solidify on this. Okay, so maybe the lattice first, then subdiv? Does seem to make the most sense. So the offset does not work here, that's for sure. So nearest surface point does seem to be my best option. And unfortunately, just messing around with this is not going to help in my case. Oh wait, here we go. Outside surface, maybe? So 0.05. It's being very strange. Not sure why it's being like this, but not much I can do about it. Unless I face project. It seems to be okay for the most part, though. Let's try comparing it to the original helmet vents. So now, if I hide the helmet vents and try plugging onto the actual helmet. This should be fine. It's acting really strange to the back, and I don't know why. Why is it doing this? Okay, being on surface is the best option, it seems. And then the tolerances needs to be brought down slightly. Okay, it's probably about as good as I'm going to get for this one. Now, the question is, which one is the mirrored? I think it's the helmet vent itself. So if I mirror based around this, this should work correctly. That took me far longer than I would have liked to figure that one out. But I'm pretty sure if I just edit this around, then yeah, it's going to work out just fine. Alright, now for the other fun part. I do have to do something about decals on this. So, it is time to open up Carita. Because I do have on hand the decal that I need. I do need to make some edits to it though, in order for it to work properly. Thankfully, I actually thought to have my drawing tablet active this time around. Alright, so open this up and request, and here we go. So this is the uncolored decal. Now I'm going to need to definitely do some editing on this thing. Alright, so grabbing the reference image here. It does seem to be in the correct position. I just need to make some edits to it in order for it to have the correct color and also to have a transparent background so I can get to work properly. So probably the first thing is to magic this and delete. Unfortunately, I do need to set this up to be a little bit better. So I'm going to set the threshold to be probably 75. Now if I get rid of this... Okay, it's not quite there yet. I wonder if I work in reverse, it would work better. So instead of cutting that out, I need to set the threshold like really low though. And then I forget that the invert selection is Control-Shift-I. Okay, so that should be cleaner. I wish the edges were smoother. And I always try to use Blender movement shortcuts in this program, and it never works out. I don't know why. Alright, so I did have the coloring for this here. So I need to pick out what color this is. So this should have a hex. Okay, yep. So copy that. Now it is gamma corrected, so I'm a little bit concerned, but we'll see. So if I grab this lot, actually, I'm going to try and paint it while I've got it here. Actually, Control-Shift-I, delete that, Control-Shift-I again, and I should just be able to paint it just fine. Alright, so, Advanced Color Selector. Do I have the option for Hex here? HSV... How would I go about selecting a Hex in here? Hex... Creator. Allows you to input color codes. How do I access that? Specific color selector. Shade selector. How do I access this? It's under the Dockers. Maybe I have to... I have a brush equipped, so it's not like I'm... Weird. That's the color selection tool. I don't think I can select outside of my... Yeah, I can't select outside the window. Okay, that's unfortunate. What other options do I have here? Gradients. Yeah, like I have the advanced one, I just don't have the specific color selector. Unless it's under Dockers. There we go, specific color selector. There we go. Now, if I select that, that should be the correct color. Yep. Okay, cool. Well, that makes my life slightly easier. I don't know why that's not enabled by default. Like, there must be some specific reason for it, though. So just touch up a couple of spots where the wand tool has broken through. I should be good to go. So, brush size down to... Probably 3 pixels is fine. As long as I just get those small gaps, I should be good to go. I do need an erase brush as well. Just to get some of these that really shouldn't be here. Is it Alt that I was on? It's not. And there's one down here. There's one thing to be said for having your eyes cut open multiple times. At least it can be easier to spot when there's gaps in an image. Okay, so there's some weird discrepancies going on here. These. Probably get rid of this one here, it doesn't look as good. A couple bits down here. Okay, this should more or less be the... I'll just fade that one slightly. Yeah, it should more or less be the decal. And of course, we've got the. Ah, yes, this song. So I should have the alpha by default. So saving this and then exporting it to Blender, I should just be able to put the image on top. So with file, save as colored. I'm going to save this as a PNG. Save that and then save this as a creator file. Actually, hang on a second. There's some weird thing going on here. Just need to get rid of that. I just noticed on saving the files there is a... I need a larger brush. There's a strip down the side here, so I just need to quickly take care of that. I have no idea why that's there, but that's whatever. And save that as the G. Save over it. Cool. Now, I should be able to add a image. So, image, mesh plane, and that is the color. Windows jump scare. Yeah, that's why I try to remember to turn on my drawing tablet before I start stream, and then sometimes I just don't. Okay, so that needs to be around the other way, actually. So, rotation there, and then I need to shrink wrap this. Also, just need to shrink it in general. And then I need to add a subdiv to this. Simple 3 layers should be fine. And then above surface. So now if I turn this back on, alright, it's a little bit weird, but it has the spirit. Do I need to add more subdivs to this? Hope not. Alright, this thing is acting really strange. Why is it doing this? Like, I know there's not too much geometry here, but I would like it to be a little bit more optimized. Yeah, it's like super crunchy. Project. Okay, we've already know that project's not going to work. So it is nearest. And I need to hide the lattice here because I don't need that anymore. Where's the... Sorry? Oh, it's under the lattice. I'm dumb. Alright. Goodbye, bot. You will not be missed. Now, why would that not work? So this should be... This should be rotating the target. I don't know why it's not. It's like really hell-bent on snapping in the weirdest way possible. Probably because having... Actually, no, that's not it either. Fuck. Oh, this thing's just being super jank for no reason, huh? Oh well. Okay, it seems to want to do as requested now, although it is still being a bit strange. Actually, you know what it probably is? I'm gonna do this for a moment. I'm going to get rid of this. Man, why is it doing this? I wonder. It's like not in correct position. Okay. Alright, time to re-add this and hopefully it will behave this time. So, Z. I want it to be 90 degrees here. Apply the rotation. Scale this down. Apply the scale. And then I want to subdiv surface simple to 2. Actually, let's give it 3. And then apply that. So now this should work. Rotation, and now I want to shrink wrap to the helmet. I also want to be above surface by a tiny minuscule amount. 0.001. So, I wonder why this doesn't work. Because it just feels like it doesn't want to shrink wrap at all if it does this. Does it this way. But for whatever reason, this thing gets really distorted if I do it this way. I wonder if I need to... But if I apply subdiv on this thing, it's really just going to ruin a lot of stuff, I feel. Okay, I'm gonna save this as an incremental, and I'm gonna try applying the subdiv on here and seeing if that works. So if I wrap this again, it still wants to do weird stuff. Hang on. Oh, actually, I know why it might be doing this. Actually, I do not, it seems. Okay, so if I shrink wrap this... Do I really need to add more to this? That seems to be the case. Okay, so if I do this now... Face... there we go. There we go, Chad, I've got it. Okay, so the position of this seems to be like that. Why is that pulling up? It should be pulling up. So that should be, yeah, relatively close. The decal's actually smaller though. Actually, it probably needs to just be pulled around further. Now the outer rings here. These actually do need to be removed, and the only reason for that is because if the decal gets too big, it will start to cause problems where it doesn't fit onto the mesh correctly. So, correct face attributes. I'm just gonna delete these. Okay, now I should just be able to scale this up slightly more, and hopefully the outer part of the decal doesn't do some weird stuff. Actually, I feel as though scaling this might not... Actually, okay, scale it up one more. Drag it down slightly so it is in the correct position. And then I move the lattice and this here to a position where it's actually going to sort of stay in the middle. And voila, we have ourselves a mostly functional helmet. Certainly takes a fair bit to get to work properly, though. The real question is, how do I fix this lot here? I feel like I just scale these in the Z. And that actually does a lot more for me than I expected. Scale this out a bit. Like this lot here. Even just, maybe even scaling that a little bit and then just dragging this back. This way should work. What happens if I try to scale this one? Okay, I'll probably get away with this. I just need to move this slot out. And then mainly it just comes down to fixing the coloring on this. But hey, we have a functional helmet at least. Alongside all the pre-decals. The only thing that I haven't really done, and I'm uncertain is if I'm going to go through with this specific design detail, I very well might, is these side pieces on the visor. These bits here. I could probably do them given enough time. Oh, actually, there is one more thing I need to fix. This lot here. This lot here needs to have a bit of fixing going on. I wonder if it would be easier for me to just straight paint this as opposed to trying to do it through the texture editor. Like the shading editor. But that's probably a whole other can of worms I don't quite have the time to get into today. But for the most part, I think I've done a decent job on this. What do you think, chat? Well, actually, more specifically, what do you think likely? Because you're the one who requested that I do this. I know your original intention was for aerodynamic airs. You probably didn't expect me to full send it on a helmet, though. Actually, come to think of it, I'm just thinking, right? Because it's good, but air, yeah. Correct, yeah. I was just looking at this one just here for a moment. I was thinking, good lord, the absolute just aerodynamic nightmare, the way that this one in specific is designed. Like, most of these other ones, they're less egregious. But this just feels like an absolute wind trap, no? Because of the gaps up top. Like, am I wrong in thinking that? I feel like they would catch more wind rather than less. Like, some of these other ones, oh my good lord. Like, I'm all for aesthetics and whatnot, but I feel like that's just a bit egregious. Like, this one seems probably the least egregious of the lot when it comes to how much space is actually within the quote-unquote air holes. It's like sticking your hand out the window, but the hands are attached to your head. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't understand why. Now, the question is there a way for me to be able to have holes, like, have quote-unquote holes in the ears, but have them, like, have aerodynamics is to the point where the wind almost just slides out? It seems like a really weirdly specific way to phrase it. But I was thinking, like, if you just indulging this stupidity for just a moment, because I know there is a hole in here technically. Like, if I went out of my way, I could probably just where is it? Do that for now. So, like, theoretically, you could grab this section in the middle here, and you could actually just extrude it inwards. But the idea is that the outer section here would actually be closer to the edge. So, like, this would be, like, slid along, so that this, like, this section here, like, yeah, it does catch a bit of wind, but it slides to the outer edge here. I feel like the only way you'd be able to get away with that, though, is if it, like, it really goes up on the edge. And I don't know if manufacturing something like that is even feasible or a good idea. I mean, I suppose, like, with likely having a wind tunnel, what they could probably do is create their own ears, 3D print them, and then put them through the wind tunnel. They would probably have a better idea than I do of this. Injection molding / 3D. Yeah, I feel like for price sake, like, maybe 3D printing them as prototypes would be your better option. Because I imagine injection molding could get quite pricey depending on materials, no? I did consider doing injection molding for some of the models that I make, like some of the statues and whatnot. But, good lord, like, it's nigh impossible, at least, like, with the stuff that I have access to, it's nigh impossible to injection mold cement. So, or even if it's a good idea, I wouldn't know. Alright, I think that is probably enough for today. So, I'll end off the stream there. And do I have anyone for Twitch chat to raid? Probably going to be the same guy as before, but, you know. It'd be like that sometimes. Yeah, actually, I will just raid Alpharad. Actually, come to think of it, he must be, like, nearly finished with his subathon, right? He said he was only going to do it for 30 days. Alright, cool. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the stream chat. I can show you my path in Discord VC. As much as I'd love to, I do actually have to immediately go on a walk after this, and that can take quite a while. If you want to, like, put some notes in, like, Blender General or something like that, I'll certainly read over them. Like, if it's possible. If not, I can probably try and find some time, maybe earlier in the day, to do a VC. But that would just have to be organized is all. Anyway, I shall see y'all in the next stream.